Hello, everyone, and welcome to Screen Time. First, a disclaimer. This is a live event that invites the audience members to interact with me, the host, and our guest. So as such, I ask that everyone on this call please help to make this a safe and comfortable space for everyone here by practicing respect and kindness throughout this call. Also, this being an unrated live event, the views expressed may not be the views of the Englert Theater, and there is the potential for mature language, so viewer discretion is advised. Thank you and enjoy the show. This is the part where I wish I could spin around in my chair and be a different person, or if you're at the theater, the lights dim and the curtain opens and then the star is there. But since it's just me, we're just gonna go with this. This is the very first episode of Screen Time. I am your host, Jessica Egli. You may remember me from that time when you came to the Englert and there was this lady just standing in the front lobby, kind of smiling at people. And then, you came back out at intermission and that same lady was there just standing against the wall, smiling at everybody who was walking by. And then again, at the end of the show, she was out in that front lobby, freezing to death because the doors stick open as people are leaving, but she's standing there and smiling and waving at people. And that was her whole job. That lady was me for a lot of years when I was a house manager for the Englert. And I miss that job. House managers are kind of like Christmas elves in that if they're doing their job really well, they are basically invisible. And they do all of this work in the background that nobody ever sees, like finding organic kale chips and lemon Perrier for artists, or putting away about a dozen kegs that show up the very second that the microwave dings for your lunch, or counting money, just counting all the money over and over and over again because the bills keep sticking together and you have to make sure it's exactly right, and you don't get to keep any of that money. So yeah, it looks like their job is just to stand there and smile and wave at people and usher them to the main event, whatever is happening on stage. Go see Santa, tell him all of your hopes and dreams, and I'll just be over here pulling splinters out of my fingers and pretending that my feet don't hurt, because nobody should have to wear pointy shoes. But I'll tell you this. After nearly a year of not being able to share space with other human beings other than my husband, whom I love, I would literally give anything to be able to stand in the Englert lobby and smile at people. And I'll tell you this much, the very second that we are able to have people back in this space and host live events, I guarantee that I will be there in the lobby, smiling and waving and probably sobbing, because having a shared artistic experience with other people at the same time is one of the best feelings that we can experience as mortals. And we are mortals, we are flesh and blood, yet here we are stuck in our screens, like 2D pixelated versions of ourselves, just blinded by blue light and sweaty palms from the too hot laptop that's been, working forever because you just keep typing forever. I feel like all I do is type now. Granted, the touch up your appearance feature on Zoom is nice because my complexion has never been better. And I can count the number of times I've worn real pants in the last year on one hand. So there are a couple perks there. But human connection is necessary for survival. So we make so many of those connections through arts and education. So like so many creatures before us, we adapt. We have adapted, we have evolved, we found a way to continue this connection online. And that is what we are here to talk about. In each episode of Screen Time, I'm going to be interviewing the guests about and hearing their stories on how they have, had triumphs and challenges while transforming their work and their lives for the digital world. And in the name of human connection, this will also be an interactive event. So the audience will have opportunities to participate in some activities, and there'll be a Q&A with our guests. You are welcome to have your screen on and volume on later in the episode. You are not required to do so. So whatever you feel comfortable with. Now, about our guests. I had the pleasure of being able to interact with these two magnificent human beings last summer. We commissioned them to have a conversation around systemic racism in the wake of George Floyd and when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening here in our city. And it was called Nuggets of Wisdom with Sharon and Jonny. We divided that conversation into little nuggets, and they exist on our YouTube and Facebook. So I suggest you look those up later. But before I welcome them onto the screen with me, I want to share one little clip from that conversation to give you some context. It'll kind of prepare you for what this conversation might be about, not necessarily the content, but probably a little bit. And also just energetically what it'll be like. They are fun people. And this particular part of the conversation was about the difficulties around discussing race, particularly for white people, and the work required of each individual to get to a place where you can talk about it and listen. So, and I'm really happy that we have this opportunity to revisit this content during Black History Month. So, Gabby, will you roll the video, please?
I've said this on mic several times in Iowa City, like, you fucking Iowa people are so like down to clown, and you're just like with it in a way that a lot of white people aren't, because I mean, you live in a city, you live in a cultural hub, it's a lot of white people are desperately lost. Yeah. And I don't know, I feel for them, because I'm just like, well, I'm an expert on talking about race because I'm Black.
Yep.
So come on. Yeah, I'm feeling really wonderful. But that isn't to say I'm not also feeling like angry and sad. I'm just not surprised by like what
it is
white people do or are capable of, or like the hatred. I'm not surprised. I just know, and I think that a lot of people are shocked about it. And I'm like, welcome to internalized racism.
Yeah,
welcome to internalized racism. Welcome to internalized racism.
Yeah. Could that be the opening song as we do the animated journey inside oneself to look at all of the seeds of internalized racism?
Yeah. Internalized racism. Welcome to yes. Welcome to internalized.
Then we go inside. You got travel inside to look. Yes.
Oh my God.
I think we've got our new animated series coming up.
So there you go. That's Sharon and Jonny. I'm also going to read a little bit about each of them before I bring them onto the screen with me. So Sharon Udoh often performs as Counterfeit Madison. She is a first-generation Nigerian-American composer, pianist, educator, actor, and cultural critic. She performed a set, this is the part I actually added, she performed a set of Nina Simone music at Witching Hour a couple of years ago. And she was speaking in between songs about her relationship to Nina Simone and sharing like other autobiographical stories. And it was epic. I mean, I never get to watch shows because I'm always just running around and doing things and putting out fires and whatever. But I got to watch this one, and I'm so happy that I did. So Jonny Stax works as a multi-disciplinary artist and social equity strategist who mobilizes creative forces to manifest a more JEDI, just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive world. As a strategist, he has brought artistic practices into public health and justice movements, propelling social transformation in Seattle, Washington, D.C., New York, and Chicago. And as an artist, Jonny is a producer, performer, musical director, and puppet master, as you saw. So now, everyone, please welcome to the screen Sharon, Udoh, and Jonny Stax.
Great audience, Sharon.
Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys again. So as you know, and as I kind of mentioned earlier, like this show is about art and how people have been able to, move their art or transform their art into a format that works in an online platform. And this all started because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So my first question to both of you is, what were you doing the day that you found out you had to quarantine, or like when we first found out we had to stay home? What were you doing that day? What was it like for you? What was your experience?
Well, actually, I'm having trouble remembering it because it was so welcomed. I was so burnt out. I had just finished a huge show here in town, and I was exhausted and tired and grumpy. And I just really wanted a chance to rest, but I had been working on this show for a year, almost like 10 months, and had pushed. Have you ever worked on a project where you pushed everything out of the way to do the project? And then when the project is over, everything else comes back.
That'll be me tomorrow. Yeah.
And so right after the show was done, everything that I had ignored for 10 or so months just kept rushing back. And I was really just tired, so tired, more tired than I've been in a really long time. And I just hadn't been taking care of myself. I hadn't been cooking. I hadn't been working out. I hadn't been doing anything. I hadn't been aligned. My chakras were out of whack. And so when COVID became a real reality and affected our lives in that way, I was just thank God. But I feel so bad because that's such a privileged way to think, because it really effed with people. But I was working, I have not lost a single cent of income. And I feel an immense, I feel a lot of survivor's guilt, and a lot of experiences that other people have been feeling, I just don't feel in that. People are I miss people, or not that I don't miss people, but it's just, it has been so nice. So to answer your question, what was I doing that day? Probably taking a nap and eating piata.
I'm so happy to hear that story, because it's not necessarily a common one. So to hear, okay, it's not killing everybody. That is a good, that's a good thing.
I
You should not have to feel guilty. Yeah.
No. I mean, someone might as well be, living a good life while this is happening, right? I mean, yeah. No, I mean, I think for me too, it was, my father had just died on February 26th, and I had sat with him for 2.5 weeks as kind of his death doula. My brother said I kept him alive because I brought a keyboard in. He had this room to himself. He was a minister, so all of his folks were coming in and saying how they had touched, he had touched their lives. So he had his own memorial, and we were singing songs and reading to each other. I stayed with my mom for a couple of weeks, and I remember seeing the that boat, the Princess or whatever, in the Oakland Harbor right before they were bringing it in. They were gonna let them unload. And I got on the plane. I was like, should I be leaving my mom right now? But I was like, I got to get to my husband and my dog. So I got back to Chicago, and Scott was supposed to fly to take care of his family. We just had a few days together. And I was like, it was Thursday. Disneyland shut down. And that's when I knew the world was falling apart. I don't know what it was, but when I got that news, Disneyland, I was like, you're not going anywhere. We're going to Iowa. Let's hunker down. Like, let's, let's shore on up. This is why we don't live in a city right now. And we're not going to separate. We're keeping our pod together. So yeah, so then it was actually really lovely because my husband the fall before, Scott Bradley, had just vulnerably laid his story out on stage in his one-person show in Chicago, which also brought up how much how much trauma has lived in our home and our relationship, which also is huge for me in recovering. And then come back, and then Dad's dead, and I'm like, let's just hunker down. Like, that's okay, bye-bye, right? I'm cuddling for the longest time. I'm cuddling in, so yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that seems, kind of positive too. So that I'm
Yeah.
really happy to hear that. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was like expecting to ask a question that had this like really dramatic, like terrible answer. Maybe just like my own, my own experience. I was like pretty
Yeah,
devastated.
where were you?
Well, I was at work and we had our very first socially distanced meeting on stage where everyone sat in chairs 6 feet apart, and we talked about how we had to go home for a minute and kind of what that looked like. And then my husband is a chef, and he worked at a restaurant like half a block away. And he came over and he's like, our restaurant shut down. And I was like, yeah, I guess we have to go home. I have to go pack up my stuff. And I was like, we're both like kind of cheering. And we're looking at each other and we're like, if we have to do this, at least we're doing it together. Like, we got each other. And if it has to be anybody I have to spend the next, however many months with, and it's the only person I get to see, I'm glad it's you. So we had like a nice little moment. I mean, that was like 10 months ago. And now I'm going upstairs for a minute.
I saw a little meme that came out toward the end of the summer when everyone thought somehow we were going to be released from it. And it's like, if we have to like quarantine again, can we switch families? I think would have been really smart. I think probably.
But so
But before you go on, Sharon, can you imagine sitting on the Englert stage with all those Englert people and like Andre telling us like what's gonna, like, I just feel like that must have been just the beautifulest, lovingest, sweetest, gorgeous space of all time, because those Englert people are just filled with love, and the leaders and the way that's influenced in the way the organization runs and the art you do and the way you host is just delicious. And I can imagine that caretaking must have been really lovely as you all took care of each other. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Have been, if there's, I'm so grateful for the amount of support that just everybody at the Englert has given each other, and the amount of work that Andre and Katie are like big wigs have been doing just to keep us alive. So I have so much gratefulness in my heart for all of those people.
And you launching this, you getting a chance to launch this and put your voice and guide us in this time is really lovely.
Yeah, it's been really nice to be given the space to be creative. And it took me, this actually leads right into my next question. Like, when this first happened, my creativity and my inspiration, my motivation was like, nothing awful. I felt like crap every day for like 2 months. And then I thought of a project and got excited about a project and just like snapped out of it. And suddenly I was working on a project. But my question to you guys is like, did you have any, I guess I kind of know the answer because you talked about your experience going into this, but like, did you have any lag in creativity, or have you struggled at all trying to find a new voice in this kind of new world? No?
Oh, listen, we should just stop this interview right now, because like literally every answer I give is going to be the opposite of
That's good.
I mean, aren't
That's
you
good.
Counterfeit Madison? Like, when I found out a Counterfeit Madison existed, I knew I could exist. So like, I think you're just staying in true form, my dear.
I just feel, I don't know. I feel like an alien from outer space, even more like an alien. See what I just said? I feel even more like an alien from outer space than normal, because I just I had like no lag. I was just like, oh, cool, we're on Zoom. What's Zoom? How does that work? Okay, cool. I'm gonna start recording all these conversations. Cool. I'm home, which means I can write any music I want. So then I just started arranging I like started arranging string quintets and saxophone trios. And then I like wrote a piece for some, and then I just like, I'm a crazy person, I think. And so I'm the kind of person who, if you give me time, I'll be like, oh, and then how much can I stuff it with things? How much can I do? And oh, we don't know when this will, what's that? We don't know when this quarantine will be over. Bet, cool. Bye. And I was just like, that's right. And I just like did not stop. And I haven't stopped.
Cool.
That's great though. That's actually really awesome. Like how much work have you produced then? Have
Yeah,
you
I wanna
produced more
see
than you
it.
normally would have?
I
A
want
lot more than I normally
it.
Yeah, I've been working on, well, because I work for a school and that school has been mostly virtual. The middle school just went back to hybrid, but like I've been creating content like crazy for organization here called the Wexner Center. I've done like I've written like maybe 8 commissioned trios and done 2 performances with that, 3 performances with that. I produced like 2 hour-long shows this month. And later on this month, there's a commission piece showing. Yeah, I like just have not, like I have not stopped.
That makes me so happy. That makes me
Mhm.
so happy. Are you kidding? I didn't know there was a recording of that Nina Simone concert, but from another one until Sharon and I were texting back and forth a few months ago. And I was like, I could listen to that every day. So like you putting stuff out in the world is my Jimmy Jam dream of all dreamer times. So whatever you need, I can help. I want you to produce like how much do sexes cost? And like, we'll get them. Come on.
I also am working on a piece. I'm working on a piece about my dad because I'm turning 40 in 3 months. What is time? 3 months I'm turning 40, and I was supposed to go to Nigeria, but my dad won't let me because COVID is weird. And so I'm talking to him about our Nigerian heritage and working on that project. I'm also working on some classical piano re-renditions of some Nina Simone songs. I'm doing a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so everyone on this call has to follow Counterfeit Madison,
Yes,
obviously.
Yes.
Obviously.
I don't need to be consumptive about your art, but like I could just eat it all the time, you know? Yeah, my first creative piece was a little tribute to my dad. And sharing the story, the story of during those last couple of weeks, he's a Southern Baptist minister. And during those last couple of weeks, I sat death doula with him basically the whole time. And the only one time he was upset, and I think I talked about this at the June thing, at one point he was upset and it was morning devotionals and sun was coming up and he started kind of getting, upset. And I was like, what's up? And he goes, I'm sorry that I let what they taught me to believe get in the way of loving you. And so I really felt moved when I got back because I had a lot of their folks really following me on Facebook that I wanted to be able to share that in a truthful, honest way. So I did this like 22-minute, like me and a piano and like 3 songs and talking about my dad's last days and sharing that story and put it out. And that felt really good. And it was just like one time and I just did it and I edited, I put it out there. And then that started that spark of like, what, I'm just going to put my puppets and my poems out there and make, I'm just going to do stuff just roughly and easily. And who cares what's happening, And I think that's what I liked is just the play and then like rough sort of, that's why we moved to Chicago instead of New York from DC is Chicago's a place where you could just put something rough out there and people would go, that sucked. How you feel? What you got next? Or like, and they're down for it, right? And so that kind of play space, and so I let myself be in that space. I think that was really nice. And then I got this artist residency that started in May, and what a weird thing. And it was the first time of blending my consulting work with my arts work in like, a well-paid artist residency in Southwest Minnesota. So I found this big mansion house for like $550 and Gail and Dick are furnishing it for us, even gave us their leftover Christmas ornaments. And so we're just hunkered down here and really like I can go not too far that way and no one's there. So that's always my goal, you know, the further away from cities during this time. So we've had this huge art house where we can write on the walls. And, you know, I've been designing my company for 10, 11 years to do the stuff I want to do, having the impact I want with the people I want. And I figured it out. It's right there. And so being able to put it into action, everything slowed down so much. People aren't looking for stuff. So I'm like, oh, how do I find, you know, like Dolly said, I got to design and redesign, refine my visions, right? And just keep on showing up. So it's been hard though. I've gone through some really, really, really difficult dark times, you know, and realized I had mental health issues, worked through some trauma, let myself have breakdowns, slept for like 4 months when I got here, you know, because I too was really tired, you know, just from life, you know, and I experienced trauma when I was younger that I'm working through, and I just never let myself sleep so I could keep getting out of it. So when I got here, I let myself sleep, you know, and try to let myself off the hook to sleep for 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. Look, I mean, look, how could you not sleep for 3 or 4 weeks with Mr. Ponywinkle? So yeah, so I'm
Is that a body pillow?
yeah, it was $4 at the antique store downtown here. We live in this 2,100
antique
person
unicorn?
town. Yeah. Everyone needs a unicorn body pillow during the quarantine, man.
Oh,
So
yeah.
anyway, it's been interesting. It's been a blessing, and I now have what I'm doing, and I'm launching, you know, spring equinox, and I'm just sailing to the moon. So, and we're gonna make super cool shows, counterfeit. Like we're gonna do calls for composers to submit potions, and then those will be open source choirs where all the different places we go, we'll put the parts out online, and anyone local can join the choir. So I'm gonna need some arranging and some orchestrations, and you're always my first dream. So I mean, I gotta have some money because you are not cheap. You may be easy, but not cheap.
So kind of on that note, I want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about what you're like currently working on. But like my first two questions, some people get focused on kind of what sucks about this, what is like unfun about not being able to be in a room with people, but both of you are kind of doing work on like helping people learn how to communicate about humanity and growth and stuff that seems like it does require time to like talk to people and listen to people. So what about the digital world, digital context for this work is positive? Like what about the digital world can really assist this work that you're doing?
I think here in Ohio, here in Columbus, I work at a school called the Arts and College Preparatory Academy. And what's been really the thing about Zoomy Zooms is that even though everyone is tired of Zoomy Zoom, I love it because people can just, there's like like less effort for some people. So I've been talking to students, for example, a lot about just their stories and just more specifically, like, you know, a lot of our young Black kids we all experienced this collective trauma this past summer with all these deaths. I'm thinking specifically about Breonna Taylor. Whew, I'd like not one day goes by that I don't think about her. And so one thing that's really great about our school is that we can get together and talk about it. We haven't been able to because we haven't been in person. And so what's really cool about the digital arena is that like it's how editable it is. So I've been putting together these hour-long shows for my school where I just talk to a student for 10 to 15 minutes, and then I can just like pack as much stories as I can in an hour. And when, you know, time is weird, but the thing about the digital arena is that you can kind of bend time and you can match pieces of their stories up for a larger narrative. I just love how malleable the digital like video is. And I'm not like an expert in anything. Like my videos look like a millennial YouTuber made them.
They get
Because
rich doing that, so.
because I am a millennial. I came up on BuzzFeed. So but I just love how you could really pack in a lot of material and shape it. You can really shape a narrative. That's what I like the most about the digital age, and just like dumb editing. Like my editing is really dumb, and it's like it makes me.
I watched one of your videos today. Actually, it was really fun. I loved all your all your editing, all of the things you decided to put on text. Usually, whenever you swore. Jonny, what about you?
It's you know, I as a rural artist, right, who doesn't have a lot of people around, as nature of, you know, rural arts, a lot of times the like audience to be able to come together, but also be having networks all across the country, you know, of amazing artists. And my whole thing is I just love I've started calling myself a human collagist. I just my friend Nick Zaleski came across, and that's what I do. I put people in interesting combinations and they make wondrous things. And so being able to do that on Zoom, you know, and figuring out, I'm interested, I haven't figured out how to crack it now, right? So I'm going to start using it to be able to do some testing of like my potion show for super no cost, right? I don't have to fly anyone in. You know, we don't have to have an extravagant set that, you know, has audience. I don't have to rent a space. I need to figure out how to make a performance, you know, space and learn from folks who have been doing that. So it feels like a show, but now I can have a show with cast, you know, with everyone across the world and, you know, across the country and across the state, right? Depending on, you know, sort of where my focus is. So it's really exciting to use for cross-cultural connections, right? Cross-geographic connections to do stuff together. Sharon and Gwen Neo, older white woman in West Branch, she wrote a poem as a potion, and then she and Counterfeit worked on it and brewed that potion into a song that we then put into a show, right? And now I couldn't have had Sharon. I mean, I'd totally pay for Sharon to come out and do some residency, and I would just brew a bunch of potions, but we'll see. So I think that's been really cool, you know, both testing things out and being able to bring folks together at low cost. So that developing this potion show in this time is great, because if I give you a video of a Zoom performance, you're gonna be like, okay, I expect that, you know, and they won't be like, what low quality your filming is. Well, I don't have the money yet. That's what I need you for. And so it's kind of cool to do that. So I'm really excited. Using both of those tools. And I've been doing these racial justice story circles with these mostly white folks out here in rural Minnesota. And they said, hey, you know, with all the stuff this summer, they're like, can we shift a little bit? So we did racial justice story circles. And honestly, a lot of these folks hadn't talked about this stuff before, which is part of my calling, is like being out here on the frontier, like bringing new folks in and spending time to work through it. And so we really got a chance to, and they got a chance to have a little physical distance the first time, which, you know, they need to bring their body into this. But if you need a little bit of space at first, I think that's fine. Because now what I'm doing is coding all those, and we're going to now develop a JEDI transformation for the organization directly based on them and where they are, you know, and being able to do that scope of art making, you know, with this many people would have been very difficult if I had to be in time and space all the time.
Yeah. Well, cool. We are at about 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get to the interactive part of this session. So
but
Jonny.
Before you do, I had a question for you all. You can call me Mother Earthburger, but I did want to ask you, is it Counterfeit Madison?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I wanted to know, they say that the continents were all together at one time, and I was just wondering how they decided to split it up the way that they did. I was wondering if you had an answer for that.
I do have an answer. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Get it, check it. So, you know, the periodic table, audience, I don't know if you know, but I know everything.
She does.
Like-
She does. She does.
Mhm.
Everything in the world.
Yes.
I know everything. So here's how that happened. So you know the periodic table, there's like a hydrogen and oxygen, right? Hydrogen had a crush on oxygen, and but hydrogen had like double the amount of crush on oxygen, and so they got together and they made water. And then what happened is they just had so much love for each other that the water broke into the land masses and randomly scattered the continents.
Oh,
That is how that happened.
oh, it was scattered randomly by love?
I love I'm a genius.
Oh, I love that.
I
Thank you so much.
love
Thank you
that.
so much. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I had to step out for a minute. How's everything going? You guys doing
Everything's
okay? I
great.
think you were gonna go into some Q&A.
Yeah. We just learned a lot. We learned something really cool.
Good.
But you'll have to hear it from Mother Earthburger when you
Okay,
catch up with
all
her later.
Okay.
Oh boy. So, Johnny,
Yes.
did you want to lead our guests through a little vision exercise really quick?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I was thinking as when you came and talked about sort of this transition, conversations on the screen and looking at where we are in this moment in time and knowing that there's more ahead of us. I think sometimes what can help us is to set our visions. Sometimes to survive, right? And if we can like toss our vision out there at a certain point, then we can kind of pull ourselves when we need to, and slide on down, and let those visions drive us, not to make us feel guilty for not getting there, but to inspire us to move and get out of bed when we need to, and to put all of our efforts into our calling and our vision. So I thought at this moment in time, it'd be nice for all of us to take a moment, pull out a little piece of paper, marker, pen, whatever you want to. We're just going to take a couple minutes to start this, and then hopefully you'll continue this on. And you can build your whole activation frame out of this if you want to by setting vision. I can help you figure out how to activate it. But vision is the first set. So take a moment and think about, what is it, February 18th?
Yes.
Okay, so we got a little bit late to it, but it's February 18th, 2022. And we're coming back to celebrate a year long of this show being fantastic, fabulous, and all over the place. And we say, you know what, let's reflect back on that vision activity Johnny led us through. Okay. So we're a year from now. And I want you to take a minute to say, okay, it's February 18th, 2022. You know what I accomplished in the last year? And put that down, whatever the accomplishment feels like. And it doesn't have to be an accomplishment outcome outside of yourself. It can be accomplishment within yourself. It doesn't have to be an accomplishment that has any tangible outcome. It could be that you had a steady practice towards something. It could be that you had a steady practice, you fell off, you got back on, and you kept going, you fell off, and you got back on. That's an accomplishment, okay? So just think about and write some words, write some thoughts, write some pictures, draw some pictures if you want to, of you looking back on the last year, a year from now, and what it was like. What you did. When you showed up, what you felt called to. What you found you had the capacity for. When you let yourself off the hook, and you just looked at the stuff that was yours, the stuff you were called to and you showed up for. Sometimes barely, but you showed up. Sometimes you skipped a day or two or weeks, but you kept showing up. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? The seasons change and move. Our response to COVID happens and changes and it's confusing as fuck. And you showed up at different times and did things. Sometimes you just sat too, and those are accomplishments. How did you love? How did you bring your unique healing to your corner of the world? So whenever it feels right, just kind of come back to the space and
I'm going to remove our spotlights so we can just all join in
cool.
gallery view.
Gallery
So
view.
everyone
Oh,
wants to do a gallery view.
Sharon, gallery view.
There we go.
Okay.
That's everybody.
Now I can
Hi, Katie. I see you.
Katie.
Oh my God, it's Katie. Oh my God.
Yay.
Oh, it's so nice to see some people. Everybody, my mom is here.
Hi,
Yeah.
Mom. Yay.
So now we've got about 15 minutes left. So does anybody feel inclined to share what the vision that they just had? And no pressure at all, but if anybody wants to share, we'd love to start there. And you are not able to unmute yourself, so just put your hand up or put a little note in the chat, and I will let you speak. And if nobody wants to, that's okay too. They're private visions, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Like the
okay.
birthday candle wishes, right?
Yeah, you can't say it or it won't come true.
Oh, no, it'll come true if you wanted to.
Oh, Katie will go, actually. Here we go. I think I'm asking you to unmute. Did it work?
Guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey. I love this question. When I had a whole bunch of different things come through my mind. Thank you for that like guidance, that little walk through. And the thing that really struck me, you would think that like, maybe some like work accomplishments or things like that would be like top of mind. That was like the last thing I thought about. The thing that I really thought about was, this is going to sound so funny, but being less of a cleanaholic and becoming someone who like can chill, who can just like chill in my house and not have it have to be clean, and like just like read and like be like, I'm going to pick up my guitar instead of like detail scrubbing my cabinets, because those are like that's like my coping mechanism for stress. And I was like, my house is never going to be clean. I just need to live, My house is clean, but you know what I mean, right? So like rest, lyrical time, chill time.
Yeah.
Lyrical time. I love that.
That's nice.
Yeah, building restoration and renewal into our schedules, I think, is one of the things I hope we all take from this time, is how essential it is, both passive, where you're just taking a nap, and active, where you're like making, lyricizing or, talking to a friend or, but feeding yourself and restoring yourself. And I think too, one of the things that in reflecting back on the racial justice work and the Black Lives Matter, is also remembering that white folks have work to do and waking up to do, and Black folks have a lot of probably healing and sleep and like dreaming and like and so how to be able to sort of like create the nap ministry in Chicago. There's a nap ministry in Chicago, and I just think it's super rad. So anyway, yeah, thinking about that renewal and healing.
Yes. Does anybody else want to share, or I'm happy to open it up now for questions for Sharon and Jonny from the audience. Does anyone have a question they want to ask? Yes, I see. Sarah.
So hopefully not too off track, but Sharon, can you talk about the image behind you?
Yes, I can. Okay, listen. Oh, I'm gonna start crying. Okay, so in so many, Jonny talks a lot about trauma from his past. And like, man, life is hard, y'all. Life is hard. And I know Jonny has religion in his past, and I also have religion in my past. And I have a very complicated relationship with religion. I also have Nigerian parents, and just so like my American identity has been weird. What I'm trying to say is that I am a late bloomer, like a late bloomer, a girl, a late bloomer. And there have been people, like, do you ever sit and you just wonder like how you made it out of middle school? Like, man, like I don't know how I made it out of middle school, and I don't know how I made it out of my 20s. Jesus have mercy on my God. I have no idea. And I miraculously made it to my 30s, but I had no idea who I was. And apparently I was a Black person, and apparently I was a gay person, and apparently I am an artist. And I knew all these identities in some ways, but like didn't know what that meant, because a lot of times religion like tells you to hide those identities because you are God's child. And say it with me, 1, 2, 3, only getting ready for heaven. So this woman is a woman named Lisa McClimate. If you can see, that's the top of it. And as you can probably tell, I'm a colorful person, and probably like a little bit dramatic, would you say? But I do not know if I would be alive if she was not with me. No, I don't think I would be. I think that she is, we are 12 years apart in age. She is also a Black first generation American queer artist. And just like the way that she's helped me figure out things about God, art, dating, school, finances, marriage. I mean, it's like this, yeah. So a few years ago, we did a little show together, and she decided, because she's a crazy person like me, to paint us a backdrop. And that is what this is. Yeah, I don't think I would be alive. Like, I don't think that's an exaggeration. So yeah, that's who this is. It's Lisa McClimate.
The people who, and here's to the people who kept us alive, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. I want to, you know that Sarah McLachlan song, "The Arms of the Angel," which I've spent many nights sobbing. And like, I actually ended up in a hotel room when I had to pull off of 80 because I was crying so hard, and I was in a room listening to that song. But I was just thinking about how much we can take those lessons and create angel networks for, for the people like us, and what that looks like. I don't know, but man, I want to dedicate my life to that, right?
Yeah, but that's her. That's cool.
Cool.
That's Lisa.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Does anyone else have a question? I think we have time for at least one more. Audience friends.
Why are you so wonderful, Sharon Udoh?
Oh, my mom's got a question.
Mom.
You have to click unmute.
Just hearing someone hum, and I think it might have been Jonny. It's like, oh, can you like sing something together for us, or no?
I don't think Zoom allows that. I don't think you can the delay, unfortunately.
Oh,
yeah. But
something, Jonny, since you were humming.
What's that?
Can you sing something since you were humming, or you just enjoy humming.
Oh, I mean, we could sing the Rainbow Connection if you want. That's always my theme song, but I don't want to take up the time of Jessica. You probably had a question.
And I was wondering, as far as how do I get, you said that the Nina Simone work that you did is somehow recorded somewhere. Like, how does one get that?
It is. If you Google Counterfeit Madison, Nina Simone, it's the first thing that comes up. It's it's also on my website, counterfeitmadison.com. Guys, my website has look at him.
Girl, please, are you kidding? Like I said, every
You beat me to it.
every day.
He was like, gang, I got you. My website has and if you forget or whatever, my website's there too. I'm really proud of my website. My website has always been trash, and now it looks good. So I'm really excited about it.
Thank you.
What is the website? Is it just counterfeitmadison.com? Oh,
Counterfeitmadison.com, yeah.
Yeah, that's our marketing director just said it was gorgeous. So
oh my God,
that's a compliment.
Oh, I'm getting mine redone too. I got my own publicist starting next week. I feel so bougie.
Okay. Excuse me, I didn't know we was fancy up there. I didn't know we was fancy.
I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't do it anyway. I found someone silly enough and foolish enough to take it on. So
that's actually a good, so we are getting close to the end of our hour. Do you guys, on that note, have anything you want to plug, anything upcoming that people should watch out for?
Yeah, I want to plug something.
Do it.
EnglertTheater.org.
yes. Give millions of dollars. Give millions.
Listen, all of you. These people, I am from Ohio, okay? You people are from Iowa. I am from Ohio, okay? And these people have been nothing but nice to me, okay? They like, I will suggest, Andre Perry, where you at? You up in this? I have suggested things to him, and he'll just be like, yeah, we'll put it on. Like, these people are so nice. I came, they gave me a free meal at some festival 3 years ago. I like jumped off the stage and skated into the audience, and then they gave me drink tickets. They put me in a hotel. We thought it was gonna be a hotel that had rats in it. Ain't nobody ever given us a hotel. They gave us a whole hotel, was clean. They gave my own room. These Iowa people, EnglertTheater.org. Done.
Yeah.
Or whatever the website is.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. That's the city for the arts.
I'm done.
Hospitality is really important to us. Just making people feel comfortable and at home. Traveling to do your work is hard. So you should feel like you have a home when you're here. Yeah. Johnny, what about you? What do you got coming up?
And settling myself in Cedar County, which is just right outside of it, means that I'm always going to have this hub of cultural, work happening, which is so beautiful. And just being able to see amazing artists and get a ticket is amazing, right? Living in Chicago, unless you got some magical thing to get there in 1 minute when they first start, which I never want to work that hard. So I've got a couple of things going on. One of them, actually, Sharon, you inspired this, and I want to let you know I've been taking this and trying to work it. No one else understands what I mean, but we're trying to build this creative gym, right? So that creative, artists and healers and entrepreneurs and movement builders and educators can be able to have ongoing learning and practice. Yeah, not just around integrating justice into our work, but also integrating healing and integrating love, into our work, and try to weave it in the fabric of our practices first, so that then we can mobilize the creative force and equip them and sort of go from there. I don't know how it's still all looking, but if anyone wants to jump in on figuring out that design, we're going to try a couple different things. We're going to try these art house salons. That'll be, I think maybe kind of similar to this thing, where it'll be like informal amusement conversation about a certain topic. And we'll have some special guests talking about some stuff, make some potions, and then go into some small group discussion to see how we apply it to our practices. And that's going to be about how to do cultural organizing locally in 2 rural communities to have cultural transformation, to really change those the culture of those environments, so that Black, Indigenous, and people of color and queer folks will not only feel attracted to live there, but actually be able to live there and thrive. And so it'll be interesting to see how to, I've got this creative venture, but then evaluating for its use for cultural healing and transformation. And then we've got these, our partners, Art Force Iowa, we raised some money from the Iowa Arts Council, and we're going to do a pilot of some anti-racism training for youth workers and artists. Especially 60% are going to be Black, Indigenous, and people of color, 60% rural, 60% low income. But what we're doing is like trying to center the margins, you know, as we create this intervention, and having those different experiences for Black folk and non-Black people of color, and then for white folks to have separate journeys. So we're going to do a little pilot and bring in some folks who are serving youth beyond the margins in like resettlement, refugee, and hospitalized, and you know, those sort of environments where youth aren't usually included. So we're going to do a little anti-racism training. So we'll send it out. Please, you know, invite some folks. And if you want to keep this going, the idea is to build internal infrastructure within Iowa to always just keep ourselves going on the JEDI train, you know, as we also do all the other things that we're doing. So how to build that ongoing capacity is the question, and looking for partners to keep on trying stuff. So yeah.
That's great. What's
what's a potion show coming out?
Oh,
too,
yeah.
with a bunch of potions. So we're going to be doing a bunch of potion making workshops. So that'll come out March, the spring equinox. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Great. What's the best way for people to keep up with what you're up to, Jonny?
My website will be revised by my publicist, but JonnyStax.com, and then on the socials at the Jonny Stax or Stax Unicorn, I think, sometimes. So we're trying to figure that out. Yeah, thank you. Katie's got it.
Awesome. Well, that is our time. Can we just get a hand or like the little emoji hand for our guests? Thank you so much, Jonny and Sharon. Thank you so much for being here. You made my first show, like, you made me feel so at ease, because I was so nervous, but I think we did good. I think we did good.
You did real good, dude. You're gonna have a great run here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who showed up to watch this show tonight, to hang out, to participate, to listen in. Thank you very much to my tech team who's sitting here, like, running everything. I would not look this good without them, or sound this good. And all the other Englert people. And join me next month on Wednesday. Nope. It's Thursday. It's always a Thursday. Haha. Thursday, March 18th at 5:30 p.m. when I interview audio engineer and virtual concert producer Crystal Sherman from Iowa City here, as well as the performance music coordinator for Iowa City School District, John Welch, and West High's Cadenza Club. So it's a music themed episode next time. And have a good night, everybody. Thanks for sharing some screen time.
Yeah.
Yes.
She just disappeared.